What up, flockers? In this video, we're gonna review the Peach Fronted Conure. Now, this conure is so cool. I mean, it has a really vibrant green tropical body, and it's very famous for its peach front, meaning its little orange tip of the head right there. But the thing about these birds is they're often confused with the Orange Fronted Conure, which is a very similar bird, except half moons are just a little smaller than peach fronts, and the peach fronts actually have a black beak as opposed to a more of a horn colored beak. So you can see this is a baby peach fronted, and the black beak is just starting to come in. There's still a little horn color left in there, and it's definitely going to be a little bit bigger than this once it's fully grown. Now, these amazing birds come to us from South America, ranging from like Brazil, Bolivia, Paraguay, and a lot more. This baby peach fronted conure comes to us from Omar's Exotic Birds, which is my go-to pet store here in Southern California. They're the only place that leaves the birds out in a petting zoo for people to interact and just help birds learn that humans and birds can go in the same flock and coexist. And that's where I got the majority of my flock. Now, they did not sponsor this video at all, but they were kind enough to loan me this Peach Fronted Conure for this video, and for that, thank you guys so much. Now, these birds, I best describe them as like a really big bird in a really tiny body. And that's just because they kind of have that very big conure-like personality, like a miniature macaw, but they're in such a tiny little package. They're just so cute and tiny. They're just so fun. They're playful. They talk. They cuddle. I mean, they're just really fun birds. And this bird is gonna last you of about 30 years of that. So it's gonna be this really just a fun life for the next 30 years when you get one of these birds, just having literally a giant bird in a tiny package. And that's just what makes these Peach Fronted Conures such a fun pet. But the main question is this going to be the right pet for you? And to break this down, we got our 6 categories, which are going to be handleability, quietness, talking ability, care, hardiness, and upfront costs. Now, if you're a huge fan of Peach Fronted Conures and you want to help the YouTube algorithm push this review to the top, please make sure you hit the like button, and I really hope that this video is really valuable for you to earn that like. And if you do want to follow along on my journey to review every single parrot in existence, then please make sure you hit the subscribe button, because you're not going to want to miss any videos. Now, with that aside, let's go ahead and get started. Now, first off is going to be handleability. And for handleability, I give the Peach Fronted Conure a score of 3 out of 5. Now, these birds are super expressive. They're super energetic. I mean, it's literally like having a little miniature little puppy just running all over the place. They're super intelligent. They're really smart birds for their size. And they're just very, very active, and they have a big bird personality. And when I say a big bird personality, what it's kind of referring to is they are very emotional birds. I mean, handling one of these is like handling a little 3-year-old. I mean, they're really smart, and they're gonna have mood swings. They're gonna remember things. I mean, they're really that big bird, like practically another person. But as such, there's also some negatives with that, and I would say a little more so with this kind of bird than some other birds. And it's that they are a little high-strung in my experience. They get very easily stressed and agitated, and they'll just have their mood swings, and you're just going to have to work through that. And a lot of those mood swings can be expressed in a very negative aspect, in that they can turn out to be somewhat nippy birds. And that's one of the faults with this bird. You're gonna have to work through that. And the thing is if you take your hands off when your bird is being nippy, then that's just gonna keep encouraging your bird to be nippier and nippier, and you're not gonna want a nippy bird. That's no fun. So you're gonna have to spend a lot of time to work through that nippiness to get your bird back to being a very nice, sweet, and cuddly parrot. But luckily, with this kind of a bird, they're so expressive, it is very easy to read their mood. So it's gonna be very easy to handle, read your bird, and just kind of know when, like, you know, you just need to give your bird some personal space. But when you do, you can end up building a really strong bond with your Peach Fronted Conure and just have a very rewarding relationship. And that's why personally I do like the big personality. I don't really want a pet like a dog who's just bred to just always like listen to you, and that's what makes a Peach Fronted Conure so cool in my opinion. Now next up on this list is going to be quietness, and for quietness I give the Peach Fronted Conure a score of 3 out of 5. Now they're not like super noisy or anything, but they can get loud, and when they have their loud spurts, they're really loud, because conures generally are going to just be loud birds. And that's where I don't really recommend these birds for apartments, as when they're loud, your neighbors are probably going to hear it. And unless you want to be that neighbor, I won't say that these are great apartment birds. Now, if you do look out with one with a quieter disposition, you know, you could probably get away with it. And they're not that frequent compared to some other birds. Now, next up on this list is going to be talking ability. And for talking ability, I give the Peach Fronted Conure a score of 3 out of 5. They're actually surprisingly decent talkers. Now, generally loud, noisy parrots tend to be, you know, talking birds. That's kind of the rule of thumb. And with these birds, they're definitely not an exception. They have their loud spurts, and they're also going to have their talkative spouts, where they're just talking non-stop, constantly repeating phrases and sounds that it's picked up. Now, it doesn't have a crazy big vocabulary, and the clarity leaves something to beckon more for. It's definitely not a clear talker. It's a very scratchy kind of a voice. You will get it out of a peach front, especially if you get a male, as that's going to raise your chances of getting a talking parrot. But overall, if you do want a talking bird, like, these are pretty decent talkers. And especially if you're looking for a small bird, this is probably going to be one of your better options. Now, next up on this list is going to be care, and for care, I give the Peach Fronted Conure a score of 3 out of 5. Now, they're relatively easy to care for. They're just about like your average conure, I would say. These birds are going to be high energy, so as always, you are going to want to get the biggest cages you possibly can. That's pretty much the general rule with any parrot, but these birds do have a lot of energy in such a small package. So I would generally go for more of a tall type cage with these kind of birds, so they just have a lot of space to just climb around and burn off that energy. And then as far as diet, you want to put them on a pellet diet and then offset that with some fruits and vegetables for some variety. I would say these birds probably will lean more towards fruits, but they're kind of mixed and they're going to eat both. The main thing about this bird for me to stress is that you do need to spend, and I would say at least about like an hour and a half to 2 hours a day minimum, because if you don't spend enough time with this bird, it is going to turn nippy, and it's not going to be a great fun pet for your family, and your kids especially aren't going to be liking a nippy bird. And on top of that, they can get easily stressed out from your environment, so you're going to have to like read your bird's mood and try to figure out where the bird wants to be caged, which generally you're going to want where there's a lot of activity with people. And you're going to just want to make sure you spend that time with the bird. Otherwise, it's going to be really stressed and it's going to start plucking and end up with a lot of mental issues that you do not want out of your pet parrot. So overall, it's nothing too crazy, but I do really want to stress these birds should get a good amount of time, and you want to learn how to read when it's stressed out, because it is a high-strung bird. Now, next up on this list is going to be hardiness, and for hardiness, I give the Peach Fronted Conure score of 2 out of 5. Now, this parrot does not handle rapid temperature changes that well. They can acclimate just as well as any other parrot, but if you are in an environment where temperatures just change rapidly, I would definitely keep this bird more so indoors, as they come from more tropical environments where the weather's a lot more stable, and that's going to be a lot less stressful on your bird. My other main gripe, though, is it is a small, medium-sized parrot, and as to that, it's going to be prone to crushing. So if you do have grabby kids that handle birds very, very roughly, this is probably not going to be a good bird, as I'm more worried about this bird being such a small size it's going to get injured. And you also are going to want to bird-proof your home, as being this small, you do not want accidents to happen in your home and accidentally crush your bird, as that's going to be really, really sad. So as such, you definitely want to be very careful when you're handling this bird. Don't get too aggressive, and definitely don't let this bird wander around your house unsupervised. Otherwise, it can get hurt really bad if like a door closed on it, or someone dropped a piece of furniture and ended up injuring this bird. Now, next up on this list is going to be upfront cost, and for upfront cost, I give the Peach Fronted Conure a score of 3 out of 5. Now, it's a little up there in cost. It's going to cost you around anywhere from like $800 to $1,000. It's about double the price of a Half Moon Conure, which is a really similar parrot to the Peach Fronted Conure in terms of like personality and care and everything. But you are going to be paying double the price. The only thing really going for is just it's slightly bigger, but also Peach Fronts may be more available in your area. So that is another advantage. But overall, it is going to be a more expensive parrot in terms of the upfront investment. With that, you are going to want to get a decently large cage. It's probably going to end up costing you $100 to $200, as you definitely want more of a tall cage for this bird to just kind of climb all around and stuff. It is probably going to shred through toys pretty quickly, as being kind of a nippy personality, very beaky, they're going to be destroying toys left and right, but that's about normal for most birds because it's not exactly the biggest size, so you should be fine. So overall, it is a relatively affordable bird outside of that upfront cost, which is going to be, you know, kind of up there compared to other small, medium-sized conures similar to this size. Now, to sum up the final score, the Peach Fronted Conure has a score of 2.8 out of 5. It is overall like just below an average score, whereas the Half Moon Conure has a 3 out of 5. This bird is 2.8, and that's really just because it is just a more expensive bird than a Half Moon Conure. But if you do not have Half Moons available for you, but you do have Peach Fronts, these birds are going to be really amazing birds to have. They are just large birds in such a tiny package, and they are going to be quite a bit of work, and it is going to be a bigger challenge of a bird with that nippy personality, and as such, maybe it's not the best bird for beginners, but if you do put in the work for this bird, it's going to be a very rewarding bird, and you're going to build a really strong relationship with it. It definitely grabs attention, especially with its unique peach fronted head, and for people who aren't really familiar with parrots, this is going to be a pretty cool conversation starter. So overall, if you are looking for a very big parrot but in a tiny package, this may be the right parrot for you. And with that, guys, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.